one second. Hmm. Are we live? Hi, good evening, everyone. Is my audio and video okay? Good evening, Yogesh. Good evening, Prashit. Is my audio and video okay? Yes? Awesome, awesome. Thank you. Right. So let's start today's class. First of all, I would like to congratulate all of you to be consistent. If you have gone through these many classes, you have proved yourself to be consistent. And I would like to congratulate you all. Consistency is the key to success. Always remember that. There is everything else is optional. Consistency is not an option, right? So be happy. You have made so far. Awesome. Right. So we are going to create tic-tac-toe today. Uh, we have the whole month with us, Pali. You guys are OP. Right. So we are going to create tic-tac-toe today. For those who do not know about tic-tac-toe, there are two players. One is represented with X and the other one is represented with O, right? And the way uh, a person clears this tic-tac-toe or wins tic-tac-toe is they have to have three X's or three O's in a single row, column, or diagonals, right? So this is one win. This is another win. This is another win, right? One more thing. This is another win. So basically, three adjacent X's or three adjacent O's, you win the tic-tac-toe, right? Now we are going to create a multiplayer tic-tac-toe for us, right? So first of all, we need to create this board, right? We do it in the front end side. This is basically a table. If you see it closely, this is basically a table. One person comes, it is allotted an O, right? The other person comes, whenever he clicks on a box, it allots X by default, right? Then the first person comes again, then again he puts an O, then the next person puts an X. If suppose a person puts an O over here and X over here, then this means that there is no possible scenario where any other person could win, right? So it's a draw. Okay, understood tic-tac-toe, right? So let's get coding. We are going to use these packages for today: EJS, Express, ngrok, socket.io, and UUID. Right? I have already put down the CSS that is required. There are two CSS. One is for index.css and one is for room.css. Right? I am not going too much details into the CSS part. Let's create our server first. I wanted to create some fun games for you guys. So next few classes, or maybe at least the next class, would be a game. I wanted to cover some games, right? Such that if you're interested, you can create your own games. I I would try my best to cover one big game also, so that if you are interested in game creation, you can create games on your own, right? The logic is same. Whatever we have learned so far, the same thing we are going to implement over here as well. So let's get started. First of all, we need our Express server. As usual, require Express, right? Then we need our app, which will call the Express function, right? Then, because this is a two-person game, we are going to use socket.io. For that, we require a server, an HTTP server require from HTTP dot server with the app, right? Now we need to listen to this HTTP server. For that, we are going to say server dot listen, whatever the port is. Let's say the port is 3000, right? And we will console.log server is running, right? Then we need our middlewares. Let's create our middlewares. App.use express.json, right? And we are going to use EJS today. So we have to set up our EJS as well. And we need the public folder as well. So app.set view engine as EJS, right? And app.use express.static. The path of the folder is, the name of the folder is public, right? We are going to serve our HTML, CSS, and JavaScript or EJS files from the public folder, right? The EJS files will be in view folder. So let's create our view folder as well. The EJS files would reside over here. We would have two EJS files. One is index.ejs and one would be room.ejs, right? Index.ejs is just the introductory page where you would be asked to join a room, and room.ejs will have all the necessary logic for the game, right? Now let's connect our socket. So constant IO equal to require socket.io, right? And pass in the server, right? We are going to create a new room. So we would require UUID for that. So let's have UUID as v4 UUID from our UUID. This will create a, a unique room idea for us, right? Now, uh, let's make our first URL. Whenever a person comes to slash, what should we do? We have to response dot render your index dot EJS file, app.get. Okay, so when a person comes to your slash URL or the main URL or of your website, you have to render index.ejs. In index.ejs, this would be very simple. Let's have the doc type first to tell that we are going to use HTML5 over here. Let's set up our language as English, right? In head, we require the meta tags, meta car set as UTF-8, right? Uh, the title, let's say tic-tac-toe. We need the CSS, so let's import our CSS over here. Style sheet with the href of CSS slash index.css, right? Because our CSS is residing in public CSS index.css over here, right? Till public, everything is, we said that make public folder as publicly available, right? So we just have to write CSS slash index.css, right? Then in our body, we will simply have a button on click of which we are going to create the board. Let's give it an ID as well. Create board, create a board, right? And let's have the JavaScript text slash JavaScript with the src of, let's put in JS folder js slash index.js, right? And put it as differ so that it is downloaded in the last after all these are downloaded, right? Now let's create our index.js. Let's create a new folder over here. Sorry for this. Inside public, we need JS. App.arguments. It was app.argument is a typo. This is app.use. Okay, Harsh, that was a typo. In JS, let's have our index.js, right? In this, we require the create board function. So we have the create board. We will simply redirect it to slash UUID, right? This will make a get API call to slash UUID. In slash UUID, we just have to create a unique uh, ID for the room, right? So coming back to server.js, app.get slash UUID, we will get a request and response, right? And we will redirect it to slash then UUID v4 with some unique ID. Right? Now let's create this as well. We will have app.get slash a unique room ID, and in this we will get request and response. Right? We just have to render the room, this room.egs we have to render over here, right? And put in the room ID as request dot params dot room. Okay. Now in room.ejs, how do we use the room ID? How do we use the room ID? Let's first create the doc types. Let's have the HTML. Let's have the body. Right. If I want to show the room ID, how do I show it? Inside your head, let's add a script tag and set up a constant of room underscore ID as percentile equal to the variable that we have set, room ID space percentage. Okay, let's run our server npm start, which is running node server.js. This is running at localhost 3000. Index.egs. Did I did typo again? Hmm. Did I did a typo again? Do you guys see this? Let me remove this. Failed to look up view index in views. Okay. Server, then we have the socket IO setup, then we have the UUID, we have the port, we have the static from public, we have set view engine as EJS, we have our this thing. Okay. I did made a typo. This has to be views. Okay, let's start. Okay, awesome. So Over here in index.egs, where is it? We just have a button clicking on which we have this create board called, right? We in create board, what we are doing is we are redirecting it to slash uuid. In slash uuid, what we are doing is we are redirecting it to slash some specific room id, right? And over here we are rendering our room. So clicking on this button should show us the room.egs, and the URL is this, right? Can you guys see this? We have slash and then the room ID, a unique room ID created with UUID, right? I hope there are no doubts still here. I hope there are no doubts still here. We have set up our view engine as EJS. The name of the folder should be views, right? On slash get, we are rendering index.egs. On index.egs, we just have a button clicking on which we redirect it to slash UUID, which in turn redirects it to slash and then some unique ID, right? Over here, we are simply rendering room.egs, right? Till here, the logic is clear. Let's create our room.egs then. Right. In the head, we require the CSS. So let's have link relation as style sheet, right? With the href of css slash room.css. Okay. Over here, we are going to need socket URL. So simply just add a script over here for socket IO client, right? And we are going to require our main JavaScript that is going to have all the logic for our board, right? So let's have a script type text slash JavaScript with the src of js slash, let's call it room.js, right? Defer it as well. Okay. Us over here, let's have uh, let's have a button or an input id as the URL, right? On clicking of which we will copy the URL to the clipboard so that it can be shared among other players, right? Copy to clip. Okay, this would be read only. Right. So we will have an input tag clicking on which you will copy it to clipboard, right? Do we create copy to clipboard or do we do it together? Let's do it together only. Let's have a div with an ID of message to show what is the game status, right? Let's delete this and create a table over here. Table. Inside that, we require tbody. Inside this, we are going to create the rows. So in the first row, how many boxes are there? Three, right? So let's create the TDs. Inside each one of them, we will have a button so that we can have the click event, right? Or you can have the click event over here as well. On click, let's say we call this function clicked with whatever the row number is, right? Not exactly the row number. So we are going to save it in an array. The whole board will be an array, right? With an initial of 0000. Whenever there is a position, so we will have the position from here and we will update the position that this button or this position has already been filled, right? Let's have an ID of 1. Let's create 3 copies of this. Have 2 over here, 2 over here, 3 over here, 3 over here. Let's copy it 3 times as well. 4, 5, 6, and 7, 8, and last 9. Right. So now let's refresh this. Create board. We have this UI where we have all the table elements. We have a message board and we have this box. The input box, on clicking of which we can copy the URL to be shared. Right? All this is simple. If you guys are not getting it, please let me know because we are going to go into depth now. Let's have our room.js. This array would be 1D only. For the improved performance and for simplicity, we are going to have 1D array only. Okay. If things are simple, do not complicate them. Cool. Let's have our game state or game status. Right. Initially, there would be 9 zeros. This would be our initial board. Right. How many moves we made? Right. Uh, what is my click? And what is the other person click, right? Let's have socket at slash URL, right? And we will enable or disable. So the thing is, if I have already placed one X, right, then I cannot place another X before the other person puts a 0 on the game board. So we will have a global enable click. By default, it would set to false when a new person joins in. It is a two-player game, so two players has to be present. When a new person joins in, we will enable this. Right. Uh, let's put in the URL document dot get element by ID. The URL, which is this input, right? we are going to do copy to clipboard over here. The value of this is the location, right? Now let's create our copy to clipboard. Let me copy the function name. Copy to clipboard equal to, right. Now the copy text, whenever I'm not using a var, a const, or let, this becomes a global variable. So I can use this in different functions as well, right? This basically means I'm putting it in Windows. I'm putting it like this, window.copytext, if I'm not using var, let, const, or anything like those, right? So document dot get element by ID, the URL, copy text dot select. We have to select everything, right? And we have to set the selection length also. Copy text dot set selection range from 0 to this number, right? First we need to select everything, then we need to copy, right? Now whatever we have selected, we need to do copy, execute command, copy, right? And we need to change the text to copied. So let's put the value as copied. Copy text dot on click is null now. When we have already copied, let's disable this. Now window dot get selection dot remove all ranges, right? We have to unselect what we have selected. We have this. Let's see if it is working. So we have the URL over here. Can you guys see? We have the URL over here. If I click on this, it changes to copied, right? And it gets copied to my clipboard. Right now, if I paste over here, it is the URL, right? Let's put in the URL over here. Till here, any doubt? Yes, no one, that is possible. No, Avinash, we are only going to cover Node.js. Execute command is deprecated. Yes, that is true. I'm an old person, so I'm using deprecated commands. Anyways, this works right now. Okay, so we have our copy to clipboard working over here. Now, first, let's emit join room with the room ID that we have set up in EJS. Right. Firstly, we need to get into a room, right? So first, we need to emit this join room, and we need to receive this join room as well. Let's receive it together. Let's focus on the front end code right now. Right. Next, socket.on. Whenever a user is connected, what do you want to do? Wherever user is connected, we have document dot get element by ID in the message, this box that we have created, this blue one, right? In this, we want to show that a new user is connected. So in the inner HTML, we set up user connected. Okay. My click, let's set up to X, right? The other click, let's set up to O, right? Enable click when a new user is joined. Now I can click, right? And we will have to emit that it is okay to play now, right? I cannot play until and unless two users join the room. Right. This was when a new user is connected. Right. Now, if I get socket.on uh, can play, right? My click becomes zero now because the same code is working for both the players, right? So we have to swap the clicks now, right? Other click now becomes X, right? And enable click, let's put it to true. See, all these are global variables. I'm not using any var, let or const. So all these are global variables. I can get the value whenever I'm getting it, right? Now let's have this function whenever any cell is clicked. In this, we are going to get the ID of the cell, which we have placed as 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Right? Now the ID is one more than the position. See this. The position of an array starts with 0 and I'm starting this from 1. Right? So if I have to update the position in this array, I have to minus 1. Correct? I have to reduce 1. First, I need to check if clicking is enabled. Then I have to update the moves, right? Now get the element from document dot get element by ID of that specific ID. So I'm getting this TD, right? Now I have to change the value. I have to change the value from an empty to whatever is the current value, X or O, right? So element dot inner HTML is my click, right? Let's disable on click event on this, right? And let's emit this to backend that we have clicked on this specific ID, right? Enable click is now false. We should wait for the other person to do his move, right? And in the game status, at the ID -1 position, we will set it to 1. That this is now filled. Okay, I hope there are no doubts over here. Firstly, whenever I am clicking on any of these, what do I do? Uh, I get the element, I get the TD, I change the inner HTML to X or O, right? I disable the on click, I emit that this ID has been clicked, right? I disable the click, uh, the uh, the person is now has to wait for the other person to click, right? And I set up that this position is now filled. Okay. Now I have to check for the conditions. I have to check for the conditions, right? Which conditions? Whether the whether I win the game or not, right? So this would be the condition. If your game status at 0th is 1, game status as at 1 is 1, and game status as 2 is 1, that is a row, right? Then a person has already win. Then we already have a winner, right? If any of these conditions are passed, these are the different scenarios where we can win. We will set the message to you win, right? And disable the click. And we moved back in 2 seconds back to the original state, right? Otherwise, if your moves is 9, that is all the boxes are filled, but we do not have a winner. Then we would say that it is a draw, and we would come back to the original URL. Okay? Any doubts over here? I hope there are no doubts over here. No, first we need to do all these things, then we need to check the condition. First we need to emit. This is more important that the other person knows that a person has clicked on any button, right? And then the same condition would run on both of their machines to check if anybody is a winner or not. Okay, Harsh? Now this was for us. If I am clicking on any of the box, right? Now I have to check for the other person. The same thing I have to check for the other person as well. We will get it in socket.io that row has been clicked, and we will get an ID from here, right? This is for other person. Okay, we will update the moves by 1, right? And we will get we will do the same thing over here with some changes. We get it from ID. In place of my click, this has to be other person's click, right? Uh, we do not need to do this again. Enable click is set to true now. The other person has their paid, right? We set this to true, right? And we check if the other person is a winner or loser, right? Now, if these conditions are true for the other person, that means I lost, right? So you lose over here. I made a typo again. Yes. Okay. So we did the same thing for other person. Now we have to check when there is a full room. That is more than two people are trying to connect, right? Uh, for this document dot get element by ID, the message dot inner HTML is equal to room full, right? And we redirect it to the URL again. Always remember to handle all the edge cases. Do not leave any stone unturned, right? The last condition that we need to check is when the user is disconnected. User disconnected. When the user disconnects, we will set the inner HTML as user disconnected, and we will redirect it back to the original state, right? Now on server.js, we need to do all the to and flows, right? So in this io.on, when we have the connection established, we will get socket inside this, right? First of all, socket.on, when a person joins room, right? We will get a room ID, right? This join room is over here. As soon as a person enters, we join the room and send the room ID with it. So when a person joins a room, we have to connect it to a specific room. So let's have the room io dot socket sockets dot adapter dot rooms dot get room ID. Okay, we get our room ID. We need the room size for this to work. So let's put room size as 0. If you have a room, then room size is equal to room dot size, right? We set up our room size. Now if room size is less than 2, we will join the room, right? This also starts with 0. So socket dot join the room ID, right? We need to broadcast it to the room. So socket dot broadcast dot to the room ID dot emit user connected. Let me just copy it from here. We need to emit the user is connected, right? Now socket dot on, when disconnect, we need to do socket dot broadcast to this room ID user disconnected, right? Which is handled over here, right? We have handled connection and disconnection both. We have handled the room size. Now what we have to do is socket.on can play, right? Inside this, we need to broadcast to everybody that you can play now, okay? And when we have the clicked event, then we need to broadcast clicked with the ID that we are getting, right? If your room size is not less than 2, then we need to emit full room, okay? Game status should be 1 for other players. That does not matter. That does not matter. We just have to check whether uh, all this is fulfilling or not. Right? Let me just check for the condition once. Over here, it should be 2 rather than 1. 1 second. Let me just copy the condition from somewhere. Yes, this should be 2 rather than 1. Hmm. Right? So for other person, this is 2. For me, this is 1. Right? So we need to check for the other person, this is 2, then you lose, right? Otherwise, if moves are 9, then it's a draw. Right. Let's restart our server and let's try to play now. Okay. So see, we have the user connected over here, right? We see user connected. This, as soon as I click, we have X, which is getting reflected in the other screen, right? Now I cannot click on any other box. This is the other person's turn. So I have to click over here, 0, right? Then I have to come back over here with an X, 0 over here, and X over here. It is, if you guys did not see, you said it was writing you win over here and you lose over here. Okay? Are there any doubts? Let me just recap what all we did. We have copy to clipboard. We get the URL. We select everything in the URL. We execute command as copy. This is deprecated. Please find the new command for this. Right? We change the value to copied and we disabled on click and we removed the selection. Then we joined the room with the room ID that we are setting with EJS, right? When the user is connected, we say the user is connected in the box below. My click becomes X and the other person clicks becomes O, right? We enable the click and we emit that user can play now. When we emit this, it comes over here. Socket.on can play. We broadcast to everybody that you can play now. And when we receive, we can play. We set up my click as 0, the other person click as X, enable click as true, right? This function is for us, the clicked function, which we are setting in room.js over here, right? So first we need to check if the click is enabled. We increase the moves We get the element, we get the we set the inner HTML as my click. We disable on click event on that. We enable click with the ID, right? And we disable click for us. We update our game status. We check if uh, we are winning or not, right? If we win, we redirect to slash in 2 seconds. Otherwise, if the moves are nine, the total number of moves both party can make is nine. If there are nine moves and this is not called, this it means that it is a draw, right? This is for the other person. If I receive a socket event called click, right? We increase the moves. We set the inner HTML as the other person clicks, right? We disable our on click. We enable our click for the next for the other person. We set up again status as true for the other person, right? Zero is for not touched. One is for me. Two is for the other person. Now we check if he wins. That means I lose. So we set up the inner HTML as you lose, right? And we disable the click and move back to slash. Otherwise, we say that it is a draw. On full room, we have to show the inner HTML as room full. On user disconnected, we say that the user is disconnected. Okay. Any doubts on server? We join our room, right? We create a room with we get a room with this line, right? We get our room size with room.size. If the room size is less than 2, then all the things needs to be done. Otherwise, we have to say that room is full, right? Then we need to broadcast the user is connected. If the user is disconnected, we need to broadcast user is disconnected. If we get can play, we broadcast can play everywhere. If we get clicked, we broadcast that this button has been clicked. This ID has been clicked. Okay. Any doubts? Any doubts? Yogesh, Harsh, no one? No doubts? Awesome. Would you like to play with me, Harsh? Let's have NG Rock so that you guys can play with me. Right? Require from NG Rock. Okay, and we have to set up NG Rock after everything so that I can get a URL. So let's make a self-calling function. Inside that, we need function, right? Uh, Let us get the URL from ngrok. Await ngrok dot create. Proto is over HTTP, right? Address is 3000. Let me just add an auth token over here. Right. And console log the URL. Okay, let me run the server again. I get the URL from ngrok. Let me open it. Visit site. Failed to complete the tunnel. Okay, let me try that once more. Hmm. Okay, let me try to run it at port 80. Hmm. Seems like NGRock is down for some reason. I'm sorry I won't be able to give you the link right now, but anyways, try yourself, give the link to your friend and play with them. Right. Any doubts? Okay, I think this was simple enough. I think this was simple enough, yes. Okay, you can find the code in the description below, right? Similarly, you can make any logical games like chess, Ludo, right? They are more or front-end heavy because all the logics are written on the front-end side. In today's THA, let's create Ludo, right? You have four players in Ludo. So in your team, create a Ludo game, send the NG-Rock link to four players, and play yourself. Right? Ludo would be a great addition to your CVs. Right? This was all for today's class. I will meet you in the Mahasabha VC. Peace.